What's going on, everybody? Mike here, coming to you with another special holiday edition of Fly Casual. This week we have a YouTube exclusive, part 2 of our review of The Force Awakens. Originally aired as episode 71 of the Fly Casual podcast on January 12, 2016. Cordy moderates a counter discussion with Mike and Steve Potter, foreign correspondent in the UK. The boys take a more critical bent at the movie, and Steve discusses his red carpet appearance with the stars of The Force Awakens. We hope you enjoy this very special episode of Fly Casual.
Let's get ready to wrinkle!
Do I need to send you guys booze or happy sauce? What is it going to take?
Yeah.
What is it going to take to get you two to lighten up? Huh?
Hey, I never said I hated the movie.
But
it's a Star Wars thing, man.
know the rules of this podcast are if you question something's greatness, you automatically hate it. That's how we roll.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much everyone, I think, in the super Star Wars fandom universe, because people just, if you have any criticism of it at all, you hate the film.
Yeah.
You just do.
Right. So that's why we're here to talk today about why you guys hate the film.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fly Casual Force Awakens Counterpoint. I'm your host, Mr. Corey T. Wilson, and with me today is remote. We have Mr. Mike Archbold.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, how you feeling, man? It's 2016 now, so weeks later, yeah, back to work. And,
words of numb. Lots of numb.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I have no idea what the new year has in store for me, and nor do I think it's going to be altogether that interesting.
Hey, it's an election year, so.
That's my favorite kind of year. Where the airwaves are dominated with just temple-rubbing news. It's like, oh, man, I got my choice between, a poop taco and what's the other, crap sandwich? Yeah. Welcome to politics. But why don't we escape from U.S. politics for a moment and welcome back to the podcast, Mr.
Steve Potter, foreign correspondent in the UK.
But before he says anything, I have to, in all faith, by request, standing request. No, that's the wrong one.
Good job. Nice.
Oh, no.
I guess I did replace that one on the soundboard. So to answer your question from earlier, no, I removed your theme song from the soundboard, Mr. Steve Potter. Welcome
back. Hello. How you doing, guys? You okay?
Yeah,
man. Been too long since we had you on last, so.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. I really appreciate it, and for doing it at a sensible time. So
it seemed like, yeah, that's why there's only 3 of us. But it seemed like the right thing to do, just because to set this up, again, all the boys that we could scrape together local, except for the one who was off at like a elementary school pageant or whatever Mike was doing.
Yeah.
We all went and saw the film, and it was a big group hug fiasco, and we were all just coming out going how much we liked it. And that's not exactly the reaction that was tossed out by both of you after your initial viewing of the film.
Yeah.
And because neither of you are, of course, involved with our big Force Awakens spoiler cast, I wanted to get together and talk about these things. Now, having said that, I'm going to set the table right now. This podcast will most likely contain spoilers. We don't have a table set, but we also, we're raiding the fridge on this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
be warned.
Yeah. If you have sensitive ears and you don't want to hear, if you've been hiding under a rock.
I was going to say, if you're the only one on the planet
if you haven't seen the film by now, you're not alive.
Right. Exactly. So go to the ER. They've got bags and a morgue underneath. They'll take care of you. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking spoilers. So having said that, you guys came out with sort of slightly different perceptions on your initial viewings of the film. I do want to ask the questions right off the bat. Mike, how many times have you seen it?
I've seen it 4 times.
Oh, for crying out loud. I've seen it twice. I could definitely go for a third right now.
Actually, I saw it, and somebody had to point this out to me, but I actually saw it 3 times in the first 24 hours.
Yes, I've told everybody that about you.
I'm a weirdo.
Now, this is a guy who had no plans to see it in the first 24 hours that it was out.
Right.
But after the end of the first showing, within the first 24 hours that it was out, he decided to see it and saw it 3 times within the first 24 hours. So he had no plans.
Yeah, 0 to 3. So yes,
exactly.
Yeah, what ended up happening was we had the little pageant, the Christmas pageant that night, and you guys had ran off to the 7:00 showing, and I ended up making it out to about I think it was 11:15 or so.
Yeah.
So I was as you guys were recording, I'm enjoying the movie. So
that's right.
Trying to anyway.
We were texting about it a little bit before I hit the hay that night. So yeah. So Potter, how many times for you?
3. Once in IMAX, once in normal 2D, and once in 3D. And I actually preferred the 3D a lot better.
Really?
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why. Maybe I'm, being less traditional than everyone else. But yeah, I don't know why. I just preferred the actual format. Obviously it doesn't change the content.
I tell you, I'm actually with you, but I'm not sure if it's for the same reason. The reason I did my last time that I saw it, the 4th time, was in IMAX 3D. But I didn't necessarily enjoy the 3D. What I enjoyed is that we had a
working
theater
sound system.
Yes, with a working sound system.
Because you can't see it that way in any theater in town here. Both times I've seen the movie, I've had no surround sound whatsoever.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, thanks for charging me full price. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Right. Yeah. Go
ahead. I saw it in IMAX. And, I just wasn't sort of kind of blown away. That was Leicester Square. So this is supposed to be one of the main top cinemas, in the country, and like a flagship cinema. And just the picture quality wasn't that great for me.
Yeah, especially at that scale, you're going to see every flaw. I would imagine.
Of course, I got a complimentary ticket, so I was kind of like 6 rows from the front.
Oh, ouch!
Oh, wow!
Yeah.
Did they give you a neck pillow?
Yeah, exactly. I was coming out of a sore neck. Yeah. You're having to look one side of the screen to see BB-8 and one side of the screen to see Poe. So.
I thought you were going to say one side to see BB-8 and one side to see whether it's his thumb or his middle finger that he's flipping, because it's all the way on the other side. That's a whole other debate. The online war rages.
I still say it's a thumb. I know you think it's the flip off.
I'll say quickly. I feel like it was extended with the context and the speed that it was extended. In both times I saw the movie, it was a definite flip off. But when I've seen the GIFs on the internet that slow it down, it definitely appears more of a thumbs up, because the thing, rather than switch straight up, it rotates into position.
Yeah.
So that makes it look more of a thumbs up. I'm willing to concede, but in my heart, he's still flipping him the bird. So that's how I'm going to roll with that. But, all right. Well, I'm going to try to fade in the background here, and I want you guys to tell me your initial impressions. And Potter, I want to start with you, because of course you got to see
pressure.
You got to see it on the at the big premiere.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to, and this was my first outing with the Rebel Legion,
right,
as my Galactic Marine for the Elstree base, and we got an invite by Lucasfilm with the 501st to actually walk on the red carpet at the European premiere and to see the film on the 16th, so kind of like a day before everyone else.
Right.
So it was unreal, crazy, surreal day.
Yeah.
And you're there in costume and people are taking your photo and you march out to the throne room theme, which is my favourite piece of music.
Yeah.
In the whole saga ever. And, you're just so sort of hyped up. So when I eventually got into the cinema, I was so sort of hyped on adrenaline. And after I'd finished watching the film, I kind of thought, well, okay, maybe I haven't kind of given it a chance, because I just thought I was too, hyper and expecting too much. And, it had been a long day. I was tired, But, I just, because I came out and straight away I messaged you guys, didn't I?
Yeah.
And all I said was, I've seen the film.
Yeah.
And I think, Corey, your response was one word.
Yep.
And no spoilers. And I think you knew all the spoilers anyway. We'd already gone over it.
Right.
And my one word was meh.
Yeah.
Now, I've changed my opinion now to the film is good.
Right.
After seeing it 3 times and allowing, you pick up, obviously, when you go and see it different times, you pick up different bits.
Right.
So you need to, I still watch Return of the Jedi now, and I'm still seeing new creatures in Jabba's throne room. You can't take it all in.
Right.
And just before I'd actually got into the cinema, I just shook hands with Harrison Ford. So I was a bit kind. I know I'm dropping the name in there.
Yeah, I would be Harrison in your place.
Over and said, Steve.
Yeah.
Harrison, I'm going to watch a film. I can't talk.
That guy's a talker.
He is. Never shuts up.
Wow. It's crazy. The funny thing was, we got changed and we had sort of 15 minutes to get changed.
Right.
And when you've got a full suit of armor on and stuff, and
especially one that you don't want to destroy.
Yeah, you don't want to break it, obviously. And some bits are kind of, flimsy and delicate. So strip off, crazy. And we're actually getting changed in a cinema. A theatre, as you guys call it over there for some strange reason.
Well, we call it cinema, but only when we're trying to sound pretentious.
Yeah, good job.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So I grabbed my ticket with some friends and we sort of run off because we're in the same cinema, because there's 3 main cinemas in Leicester Square.
Yeah. So
we all run off and then we join this, massive long queue. And all of a sudden, I just think we're going straight into the cinema. All of a sudden, we're back onto the red carpet.
Whoa.
So, I reach for my phone to start taking photos.
Right.
Look to my left-hand side and Abrams.
That's all right. His name was changed to Abraham, basically. So that makes sense. Still same guy. Still the same guy.
Getting all religious. Was just standing there. And I thought, I'm back on the red carpet. And I wasn't expecting it. So, you guys have seen the photos. There was blurries and you think, and then all of a sudden I heard people shouting, Gwendolyn.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Turn to my right and Gwendolyn Christie is standing about 5 feet from me.
Right.
And wow. Yeah.
Wow. Man, I saw celebrities at a football field length when I was young and thought that was the greatest thing on the face of the earth. And I think that's them. They're same posture.
Yeah. But then I'm walking along the red carpet and of course we're all going in a line. And you've got all the bouncers, the bodyguards and stuff, trying to move you along.
Right.
And then, see Gwendolyn Christie, think, oh, wow, and then, get moved along. And then Daisy Ridley's standing kind of 5 yards to the right of me. And then I move on and see Harrison Ford. And, at that point, I kind of lost it and had to get a piece of the action.
Right.
Major security risk in London, but I didn't care. And then as we walked into I call it a theatre for the multinational audience. To the left-hand side was Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
As I walked in, so it was just a crazy evening.
That's just like rapid fire.
It is.
Your brain's got to be taking these adrenaline shots just left and right.
Yeah,
I fall down.
I didn't expect to see all this to happen, so I kind of thought it sort of might have detracted from the film for me.
Sure.
I don't know how it couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I sat there in the chair and I think the adrenaline was falling out of the bottom of my shoes.
Yeah.
So it was a bittersweet day, definitely.
Right. Yeah. So you walked into a movie experience shackled by the fact that you've just had some of the craziest adrenaline, pounding that you've ever had in your life. That would be akin to let me take it and swing in the opposite direction. That'd be akin to getting attacked with a knife and kicking the guy in the face, and he drops a knife and runs off, and you feel like hulking beastly, and you go in and you're supposed to concentrate on a movie. Like, oh, someone just tried to take my life. I totally scared him off. I saved a bus full of children in the process. Movie time. I don't think I could do that. I'd be like, I'm going to go home now, please.
I wanted to go and swing from building to building. I wasn't ready for a film.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How you sat still, I have no clue.
But ultimately you did sit through the film, and you walked away, and meh was your one word. So tell me what was the emotional, and what, we get into some details. We're going to get into some details, but just like right off the bat, what was it that left you feeling cold? I mean, you've had time to think about it, and you've realized, I've had this and that and that. But at the moment, credits roll, what's going through your head?
I was just disappointed that it hadn't grabbed me. That I just waited all that time for this special moment, and everybody was saying how brilliant it was. All the critics, because of course, not a lot of people had seen it before I'd seen it.
Just keep saying that. Just keep rubbing it in.
Yeah. We have to get something first before you guys in the States. At least we got the main thing. It makes up for all the little things.
Yeah.
And I just came out, and I was, it's a brilliant Star Wars film, and it wasn't the fact that, it was too like A New Hope and everything that's coming out now. I just felt they played a bit safe.
Yeah.
And looking back, I just think, good film, but they just played into the original fans' hands.
Yeah.
The guys that don't like the prequels but love the originals.
Right.
And I just felt it was a people pleaser just for the fans. Like everyone said, it's a great movie for the fans. But I've been thinking about it since, and because I'm a great fan of the prequels.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is affecting my view of this one, that it's gone back to kind of the original.
You're kind of hitting on something for me, because I definitely like the original trilogy more, but I'm also a fan of the prequels.
Yeah.
And I also felt like too, it was weird because we all said, oh, the prequels are too divorced from the original trilogy. Now this time I almost felt like, geez, this movie's almost too divorced from the prequels. If that makes sense. I think that's what you're hitting on, and oh, it was closer for you. Okay.
Yeah, I would. I mean, this is going to set the cat amongst the pigeons. But
wait, I need to write that one down to check it out later. I need to Google that one.
Oh, sorry.
English colloquialisms. Okay, got it. Yeah. It's in my Excel file.
Setting the cat amongst the pigeons.
I love it.
I actually came out, and I would have rather watched The Phantom Menace than The Force Awakens again at that point.
Ooh. Wow. Ooh. That's dropping the hammer pretty hard.
That's going to lose me some Twitter followers.
Well, you did preface it at the time.
Yeah. There was just so many things, and there was, we get into the little intricacies of the bits, but the finer detail. But but that was good because I was watching it with a group of friends and people that I just met, and lots kind of like-minded people,
Right.
The second time I went and watched it with a group of colleagues from work who I sort of were kind of interested, they knew what Star Wars was about and everything. But everyone that I've spoken to that obviously knows of Star Wars, that's seen it, that isn't necessarily a big fan, like as involved as we are, has kind of said they thought the film was brilliant.
Right.
Everyone's kind of loved it. And then I've that sort of set me thinking, is it because I'm too involved? Kind of thing, which puts me in a sticky situation.
I think it is. I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I think when you're, especially us who've analyzed every little bitty detail for the last year and a half getting into this, and you see this, and it's almost, I kind of feel, I think what you're saying is that it just couldn't live up to the expectation, I guess.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and this transcends this film, I think, I'm not going to get into my perspective a whole lot, but I've kind of, like you guys, you felt one way and you've kind of rubber banded back a little bit. I was in the opposite direction, and I've kind of rubber banded back a little bit,
Sure.
It's the amplification of the moment. And for me, it's just really quickly, it's a comparison of just before the prequels even came out, or even while the prequels are coming out, when someone goes, oh yeah, dude, I love Star Wars. I hear you're a huge Star Wars fan. You're like, yeah. And you're gauging that person mentally. You're trying to use mind powers to figure out, are you really into Star Wars, or do you just love it when they're on TV?
Right.
Do you know anything about the EU? Do you know what do you think being a huge fan of Star Wars is? Because there's Star Wars fans, and then there was crazy people like us.
Yeah.
And this film, I think, now that I've removed from it, I think I can feel, and I think I kind of even knew it at the time. This film was not for crazy people. This film was for people who, like you guys have just said, were into the original trilogy.
Yep.
And it's like, and
that was their only exposure.
Right. Exactly. And mentally, this film was meant to take you no further than that. And not mentally, not creatively, not just, knowledge wise of it. That was only as far as it wanted to take you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and then the argument then becomes how effective, of course, to do that, which we were all discussing. So, okay, Mike, give me your story. All right. What red carpets did you walk on?
Yeah, mine's not quite as sexy.
Oh, no. Was it just me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you damn Brits. But, so like I said, my first showing was the night of the 17th. So, the 11:15 rolls around. So, I mean, the obvious stuff here, long day, you had been running around, decided to see it last minute.
Very late at night,
I'm kind of, I'm not reeling from having just seen Harrison Ford 5 feet from me, but, I've had
traffic, right?
Yeah, right. Right. So, and then on top of it, I've got to admit right out of the gates, one of the reasons that it was so difficult for me is because I decided to have a big giant Diet Coke with me when I and sat through 40 minutes of trailers while drinking said Coke.
Oh, see, if you'd gone with us, you would have seen 0 trailers because they broke the trailers.
You got count your blessings because it's been awful.
Yeah.
So imagine me. So I've already down half a giant Diet Coke. Through the trailers before the film. So, about a quarter of the way through the film, I'm like, geez, I got to go to the bathroom. But
you're doing the truffle shuffle.
This is the first time I've seen Star Wars, so I can't leave. So
we were all of us intentionally not getting any concessions because we wanted to know that
thing.
Josh must have gone to the bathroom 3 times after we took our seat just to be sure that he was completely running on E.
Well, he did the right thing because, and I honestly, I got to attribute to some of my initial feelings about the film to the fact that my bladder was about to explode 3 hours.
Oh, that's a lame excuse.
It's free. I know it's not as cool as Gwendolyn Christie rubbing elbows with her, but or rubbing hips, I guess, with her elbow. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it would be it would be hip to elbow.
I got lost in a mental image there.
Yeah. But so that's part of my agitation, I guess, because I got to admit, when I walked out of the film, I was kind of pissed about.
Mike, did you watch it on your own?
I did watch it on my own.
Which is also like, we all had the bro out thing going on.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
The camaraderie. Yeah. So I missed out on all of that. So, but I really, looking back, because after seeing it 4 times now, we talked about the rubber band effect, Corey. I'm the same way. I've come to the point where now I'm like, yeah, it's a good film. I really like it.
Yeah, agree.
It's still not the jaw dropping, explosion of awesomeness that I thought, going in, but it was fun, and it's not like I'm not going to buy the film and have it part of my collection and all that stuff, but it kind of has landed right in the middle for me as far as all the films go. So, right. That was kind of my deal at night, but my
saving grace, if you like, is when you look back. You got A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. Looking back, A New Hope isn't that great a film. Of course, it got you as a kid because that's what it was meant to do, and you were a different person back then. Mm-hmm. But I hold, I'm holding by a thin thread that Empire Strikes Back has been voted, the greatest film of all time, and that was the second one to come out.
Right.
So, and of course, it's gonna. they're so clever because they've left so many questions out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Oh, that's
As much as everybody complains about that, it's the best thing to be strong enough to do that.
See,
because Disney knows they're making a bunch of films. It's not one of those like, well, you've got to get everybody on the hook the first time. It's like they're already on the hook. Do what you got to do.
We haven't had this since the early 80s, right? I mean, the prequels, everybody knew where those were going. We've had these discussions about that's the inherent problem with prequels is you know where the end point is.
Yeah.
Right.
We're at a point now where this is all sequel stuff, so we have no clue. So yes, we're back to kind of an exciting time, really.
Right.
And
I watched the prequels as a Star Wars fan, but I knew what was coming. So all I wanted to do was, I wanted to see how the Emperor turned into the way he looks. I wanted to see what happens to Vader.
Yeah, right.
And like you say, it's instrumental in the way, that we look at all the films, really.
I would like to go back, though, and let us all remember those poor lost souls who fought for the Darth Sidious is not Emperor Palpatine thing between episodes 1 and 2. Do you remember how many people are like, no, it's not him? And I'm like, it's the same shit.
How is it not obvious?
Yeah, I don't know. I think people just wanted to believe it, man.
It's like the Snoke and Plagueis thing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh God, really? How is that even a thing? Come on.
Yeah.
There's guys in this podcast that still think that.
I mean, we need...
Wait. Which side are we arguing for or against? I'm already... That's how not cemented I am.
It's not Plagueis, for God's sake.
I don't think it is either.
Thank you, Pot.
I don't think Abrams or Kasdan would have any. What is that even about? Someone bring me a drawing to tell me what they're talking about.
Oh, we could have that discussion. We could get into details, but yes, it's not.
No, definitely. I hope it isn't now. Definitely.
Yeah. I've got a theory.
I've just made myself look stupid in front of the whole, galaxy.
I've got a theory that I'm going to save. I'm going to sit on for a bit, but I've got a theory that I kind of think would be awesome and kind of think would be a real groaner at the same time. So,
are you sitting on it?
Yeah, I'm sitting on it. I'm not going to share it now because
you could get a job at Lucasfilm.
What's that?
You could get a job at Lucasfilm.
I know, I really could. And then they go, Star Wars podcast. No, sorry, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Yeah. So you got, Mike, other than the fact that you really had to tinkle real bad, that you were doing your big shuffly pee-pee dance. Right. What else?
The big thing that really struck me that kind of started me down that path was the soundtrack, man. And by soundtrack, I need to define this because when you say soundtrack, I think people think the music.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what I mean when I say soundtrack. What I mean is everything. I mean, the dialogue, the sound effects, the music, the mix, everything, all of that comprises the soundtrack.
Well, the first time you saw it, that had to be terrible. Because both of our car mics in town, I'm calling them out, did a horrible job of sound management.
Yes. And I'll tell you, after that first night, the sound was just awful. Now, again, four in and that last one at the IMAX with the really great sound system, I've amended my opinion a little on it, but I still think there's problems. Right. And the biggest one that grabbed me almost right away was, at the beginning of the film, we have Poe and Max von Sydow's character, and they're getting attacked by the stormtroopers, and almost immediately the stormtroopers run out and start shooting, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like lasers at all. That sounds like 1970s Battlestar Galactica cheapo crap. I'm like, what the heck is this?
And I wasn't feeling Star Wars at all.
No, I was shocked.
I just wasn't feeling it at all.
That's the thing. I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray so I can watch it in my home with a superior sound system, which is, by the way, my sound system is so ancient that this is painful to say, but a far superior sound system to our theaters, so I can hear this stuff and have an opinion, because I've read this universally where people are like, yeah, the score really wasn't utilized that well, and some people said the sound effect. You're not the only person to say these things. I literally cannot have an opinion about it.
Yeah.
I mean, when I read that, Ewan McGregor and we had both the Obi-Wan's voices in it and blah, blah, blah. And Yoda's voice, Frank Oz came in, and I'm like, and I was like, what are you talking about?
What? Yeah, right.
Because, and this was before I saw it the second time. So the second time I was like, well, I'm going to listen better. And I went to a different theater. Nothing.
I didn't catch any of that.
No,
I still didn't either. And I got to say, even after because all this stuff I was aware of going into the fourth one at the IMAX, I still didn't hear the Yodas and the Anakin.
Okay, good, because I'm like,
I didn't either.
I'm like, I have no idea what anybody's talking about, and when I went and saw it a second time, I specifically tuned out and listened for that.
Well, obviously it was Rey's scene where she has the flashback moment when she touches the lightsaber. That's what they're talking about.
Right.
But I still didn't hear any of it. I mean, it's probably in there. I don't doubt that it is.
Yeah, but there's a whole lot of just like crazy sound mess going on there.
Right.
So, well, good. I was thinking it was exclusive. Well, I guess it's not good. I wanted it to be exclusive to my.
So you felt the same thing though, Steve, right? I mean, the sound effects, just the laser bolts. I mean, that was the first thing that grabbed me. Even the lightsabers. I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I was like, okay, I gave a pass. I gave a pass to Kylo Ren's lightsaber because it's a new thing.
Right.
Cool,
but even Luke's lightsaber, when it was first charged up, I'm like, that sounds like a jet engine. What the heck?
And all of a sudden, Chewie's bowcaster's turned into a rocket launcher.
Yeah. Because these are the jokes. The problem is they didn't have a fat guy to fall down all the time, so they had to create jokes. They didn't have a Gimli.
I mean, for me, the music is, the sound effects aside, for me, the music is, 70-75% of what Star Wars is for me.
It's so important.
The music is brilliant. It's gorgeous. And I just wasn't blown away by it.
I felt
again, I just thought maybe didn't give it a chance. And then I've listened to the soundtrack, and it does the only bit that actually grabs me and gives me that, feeling, the adrenaline and the pit of your stomach was Kylo's fight with Rey. When a bit of the music comes in, a bit of the familiar and a bit of action. But I was just complete. And after listening to the soundtrack, of course, that came out the same day, I was just, there's parts of the music that are great. But I think, I can't remember who said it or where I read it, but somebody said it kind of felt a bit rushed.
Right.
Like John Williams hadn't put his all into it. I mean, I'm not saying that because John Williams is an absolute legend, and I'm not.
He is, right? But I'm in that camp. I believe that. First off, the guy's 83 years old. Okay,
you can't be great to the moment you die. You know,
right? Well, and I don't think it's necessary that he lost it. I just think, the guy's 83. I just read an article that came out this week. I think actually, Steve, you posted this to the Twitter site. And I read the article and he would even mention, he goes, geez, 10, 15 years ago when I was working on the prequels, I could pull 12-hour days, and it was no big thing. He goes, I do 6-hour days now, and then take a walk, and he was kind of pretty forthright about it, but he was very politic and, I loved it. And I was glad they called and, I didn't hesitate to say yes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure they paid him $1 bajillion and that was it. But, I just feel like, it suffered. It really did. You mentioned, the fight, the fight scene and I haven't listened to the isolated, music track yet. And the thing of it is I just, even the prequels for me, I left those movies and, I was humming the new themes,
Really? On top of, other than just Duel of Fates?
Duel of Fates, the love theme for Anakin, even episode 2. Definitely. Episode 2 is my least favorite film, and I can hum the love theme from that movie.
All right, good.
I felt like that there was just more melodic, and it was mixed better. Again, I feel like the music in this film was just tucked so deep in the track, you couldn't experience it.
It wasn't featured. It was only supporting.
Exactly. And I think that's the one thing that Lucas really did right in all of his films is the music is just out there.
Or whoever was responsible for the sound editing, decisions. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can tell it's a new crew doing it because it's, it's just, it's completely different. I thought that the soundtrack, the music, how it's mixed, everything just did not have the power. Now, the only thing in terms of the score, and it's funny, I was sitting down thinking about this before we got together today and the score. The only score I remember is Rey's theme, and they played it a couple, 2-3 times. The only thing I remember about it though was that I liked it. I couldn't hum it to save my life. Yeah, and that's about all I can say about the soundtrack. The rest of it just felt like filler music.
Yeah, from people that I've spoken to, Rey's theme is definitely people's favorite. favourite one.
Right.
And it's quite, when you listen to it, it feels catchy, but then it just seems to stop at the point of where it could kind of build up into something else. I don't know how to explain it. It just falls a little bit short.
Yeah.
Is it possible that this soundtrack not being as featured issue is a result of the fact that this film ran at a speed that no Star Wars film has ever run at? I mean, even Revenge of the Sith had some slowdown points.
Sure.
This film had no slowdown. Arguably, I shouldn't say no, but if I was going to say, if you need your highs and your lows, you need to pull the audience up and down. This one had about 10% of probably the next, like Revenge of the Sith. I think of Revenge of the Sith as being one of the most fast paced of the original 6.
Right.
This one never slowed down at all.
Right.
No.
I think you're right. I mean, that could be part of it.
Because you don't have a point where the only point where you have similar to Luke going out and just standing on the sand and looking out at the twin suns is Rey sitting there eating her Insta muffin,
Yeah, right.
And that's about it.
Yeah, there was none of those moments.
Right.
There was,
it's funny that
iconic as that is, like
right.
Luke looking at the twin sun, everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And nothing, I'm not going to remember. I can't remember. Oh, obviously I remember Rey's theme and she's sliding down. But
and that's probably one of the most iconic spots where music has ever been featured in cinema history. I mean, even in the Seth MacFarlane Family Guy ripoff, the Blue Harvest and all that. The Family Guy Star Wars. Even then, what is it that the kid turns and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, the John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra," and they're standing there just like directing the music right there in the sand. Because it's iconic.
Right.
But this film, it had no point where it was even 50% or 40% of that impact. It was just kind of, all right, boom, 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 set piece, set piece, set piece, set piece, go, go, go.
Yeah, I'm
not complaining. I'm just trying to expand on maybe what you guys are saying.
I was just amazed by the amount of reveals that we actually got in the first film after we're so used to kind of slow reveals and building up to who's related to who and, major deaths and everything,
Yeah, I think when they decided to go with, and this is getting into the spoiler stuff, they decided to go with, Kylo Ren being related to Han Solo, and then they were going to kill him off. I've heard some criticism, and I kind of agree that, did we reveal that, they were related too soon? And I kind of felt like, well, you had to find that out almost immediately in the film. You couldn't find that out at the end because then the death would have no impact.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Also, it would be like, oh yeah, we kind of already knew that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we kind of figured at this point. Thanks for playing. Right. That's like I always say, that's Liam Neeson having the Ra's al Ghul haircut all the way through Batman Begins. And then at the end going, no, I'm Ra's al Ghul. And I'm like, yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Right.
So it's good. It's good to kind of plot that out a little faster so that you're not hung up on it. And now you're more interested in maybe the emotional implications. I don't know. It's my 2 cents.
Well, it was still rushed. I mean, I think I know what you're saying, Steve, that it felt rushed, but I guess since they picked that as a plot point and they decided to kill Harrison Ford, it had to. For me, I've come to the point where I felt like that Harrison Ford and Adam Driver did as the best job they possibly could, given the fact that was driven so quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt like the death scene was fairly well done and if not rushed, I felt the impact and I thought that was definitely, a highlight. It was different than what I had imagined, but like I said, I felt like those two did as much as they could, from the point where actually for a moment, the death is coming, right? But there was actually this moment, this second where, Adam Driver's, shedding the tear and, and saying I'm conflicted and all this stuff. And you actually thought for just a split second
that we're really dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it as well. Everyone must have felt the same. No, he's not going to do it. He's not going to get it. I thought, here he is.
He's going to be one of the good guys in the future.
It's true, all of it.
Yeah.
I was actually, I was a bit worried about Adam Driver because when you see him in interviews and like on the panels and at Comic-Con and Celebration, he's quite dry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
you know, he's quite straightforward and he doesn't show much emotion.
I'm glad you're mentioning this because I feel like I'm the only one who was like, I don't know about this guy.
Oh, I was really worried. And then in the death scene, he came across really well. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know if you guys have noticed, he's done interviews and things now since the movie's come out. He's a lot more lively now.
Way more normal now that he doesn't have to guard everything about everything. Right? There's nothing about his character he could say without spoiling. Yeah, no wonder. Like, and I kept wondering. I'm like, okay, maybe he's not that aloof. Maybe he's not that much of a method actor. Maybe he's just a dude who's like, if I say anything, I want to just spill the beans. And apparently that's the case. Because and here's the dumb thing. Now I look back at some of his other work, and I'm like, what was I thinking? You know, like a friend posted on Facebook the scene from Inside Llewyn Davis, where you've got Poe Dameron and Kylo Ren singing a goofy folk song, 60s folk song. and if you're not familiar, go YouTube. That's Justin Timberlake singing the lead. And Adam Driver is hilarious. And that's the only scene I think in the whole film, if I remember correctly, that he's in. He's just this guy who's there to say dopey sounds in this goofy song. And so, yeah, YouTube that because it is hysterical. And you're like, this guy is actually probably a lot of fun. Like he's a lot cooler than he came across in those early interviews, I think. And he did what a job. I mean, I was really worried he was going to be completely vapid and empty.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Man, the emotional range was on display.
I do have to say too, the character is intriguing to me. He's getting a lot of criticism. That character is anyway. That he's not evil enough. You know, he's not a Darth Vader.
That's the point.
Blah, blah, blah. Right, exactly. I absolutely love that we have a character that he's a dark side character who is struggling with the light.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
That is the one most original idea.
Yeah,
for Star Wars wise,
yes.
That this whole film had.
Right.
Was because I mean Star Wars pretty much gone to every possible sci-fi trope there is in the EU, and so here they're going. All right, we're gonna kind of turn this on its head a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And I really like that, but at the same time, because of all the pacing issues and stuff like that, we didn't really get a chance to fully grasp that. If I wasn't already so spongy and hungry and thirsty for that anyway.
Right.
So. Where do you guys come down on the whole handling of some? I mean, we've talked about the brilliance of leaving questions open and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, the whole glossing over Han and Leia's relationship, not knowing who Snoke is, not knowing who Rey is by the end of the movie. I mean, that's the one thing that I thought for sure was going to be completely summed up for us by the end of the film. Okay, it's not. That's fine. There's a lot of stuff I'm okay not knowing, but that 20-second, 30-second long love stare that her and Luke did at the end of the film, with no dialogue whatsoever. I guess where do you guys come down on to just all the things left open? Is there something that you felt like should have been really summed up?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was something. In particular that I really felt like there could have been more. Oh, the one thing that kind of the stuff with like Han and Leia and stuff. I thought that was done fine. We don't need to know all their backstory. They can do that in the new canon and expanded universe stuff and all that. And
there's some in the book. There's some details in the novel.
Right, and I knew that we would get that. So I'm fine with that because you can only do so much in a movie. So that stuff. The one thing that I thought we could have had more exposition on was the status of the New Republic and Correspondent and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All we know is that these guys, this new First Order says we're going to kill the New Republic, and then they, shoot their Death Star 3 and blow up a planet, and everybody's just sitting there scratching their head. It's like, is that Coruscant? Is that who's in charge? What?
Yeah.
I just didn't think there was enough exposition. Now I know. For me, it was. Now I know if you're trying to draw comparisons to A New Hope, the Empire was the same way. We didn't know anything about them. Right. So I guess you could theoretically argue that, it's kind of poetic in that way that we just, we didn't get a lot of explanation of what the Empire was in A New Hope. But I don't know. I guess seven films in, I feel like we need more now.
Yeah. When we were introduced to the Empire in A New Hope, we didn't know anything about him. So if they said something, we knew that that's all we were supposed to know.
Right.
When they're blowing up some planet that I don't remember, the Hosnian system worth of planets.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I heard it correctly or if someone coughed when the word was said.
Right.
I've never heard Hosnium before, so I have no idea if I even heard it correctly. And then I see, you know, a very dense populated city get blown up, and they say, there, we've destroyed the Republic. Well, here I am, guy that, you know, knows the EU, but you don't even have to be EU guy. You could just be a guy who likes prequels too and be like, wait, what just happened? Was that?
I mean, right.
That was the first question walking out. I was like, did Coruscant just get blown up or not?
Yeah.
I thought it was Coruscant.
Yeah.
But then I thought that's just too easy. You can't just blow up.
No, and I don't think it was, because you're right. They called it a different kind of system.
It wasn't. It officially was not
No, it
Coruscant.
wasn't.
But see, I just thought the whole thing was just kind of goofy anyway, because just because you blow up a capital planet or whatever, that doesn't eradicate the Republic. I mean, if you've got many systems,
Right.
Their government will survive, even if you blow up their capital city.
Basically, what they did was they did two things from A New Hope in one fell stroke, right? Which was Tarkin walking in the room, going, the lost remnants of the Senate have been swept away. And then also blowing up the rebel base. Yeah. So in this one, we don't want to, or blowing up Alderaan, excuse me. Right. So in this one, it was two birds with one stone. We'll kill the Senate and demonstrate the power of this fully armed and operational battle station. I'm throwing all kinds of movie quotes in.
Right. Well, and you're kind of going down this road, and I kind of want to touch on this. We mentioned it at the beginning of the cast, but the, this whole idea that JJ's getting a lot of criticism for making, well, even Lucas said this, and I know Lucas got some flack, but
Lucas keeps earning more and more flack.
He does, but I kind of agree with him.
I am too. I'm coming around. But he's
just like, you know what, you guys, he's like, you made a nostalgia film, and I'm like, yeah, he kind of did.
Yeah.
It was just, I think for me, the big thing here, and was the as far as too many parallels to the original was Death Star 3, Star Killer Base. Mm-hmm. When Poe Dameron is in the war room with the Resistance and he pulls up the comparison, you see a Death Star and then you see Star Killer Base and everybody goes, I'm just like, I was like, no.
And then you see Asian guy from Lost walk around and awkwardly put his hand in his hand several times.
But when I was first watching it, these aren't the things that occurred to me. It wasn't until, on social media and stuff and afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, really?
When you're gauging, I wasn't, it didn't occur to me at first.
All the parallels that were
it kind of did to me almost right away, because I'm like, there's the droid carrying the plans. There's the desert.
And then when you look back, you think, oh wow, it's very similar. And
I was swimming in it first time through. I was drowning in it. I was like, okay, when's someone going to say I got a bad feeling about there?
There it goes.
And of course, we applauded because we're SEALs.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, I guess after the fact, where everybody's digested it and thrown it out there on Twitter and Facebook for everybody to kind of, it even more, you're just like, oh, gee, oh, man, oh, my gosh. And I honestly, I know there's some people defending JJ and all that stuff, but I'm like, I feel like he deserves the criticism, him and Kasdan. I'm like, there was a few, I understand, we knew this going in, that JJ is all about look and feel, and sometimes at the expense of story and originality.
Absolutely. And I feel like we've known that, and I feel like this movie just cements that.
Well, it completely cemented it. And I guess it makes me mad because I felt like there was just a couple of things. You didn't have to do Star Killer Base. You could have had some other climactic battle of some sort.
You could have had a super weapon that wasn't just a projectile shooting planet killer.
Right. Which is still, there's a lot of question marks to that. I'm not even sure what I saw going back to blowing up the Republic. I'm like, okay, is this thing traveling through hyperspace? Are they all in the same system? I don't get this.
It's got a trench in it. It's got a trench. X-Wings go down a trench. And
Yes.
I will say the science-ish of the Star Killer Base, I felt was some of the worst in major science fiction movie franchise history, because the way they depicted it made no sense to someone who even has the most basic grasp of physics. And I'm like, it's science fiction. I get that. But it's like, at least, if I'm going to watch a Roddenberry IP, someone's going to throw some words I don't understand at me to make me understand. But in this case, in the novel, what it did was it fired a projectile that actually traveled through, I think in the novel it called it sub-hyperspace or something like that. Yeah. But it actually disappeared as it left the firing mechanism, went through hyperspace and came back out, hit the planet, caused the planet to go nova because it was firing the energy of a star into it, which then destroyed the surrounding planets. Not this weird plasma ball that splits magically into several that all go where they're supposed to go. So that, I was like, that's what... As it was happening, that's what I was expecting to see. Right. And then that didn't happen. And I was like, wait, what? And then found out in the novel later, I was like, oh. So it should have been what I was thinking it was going to be. Okay, I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
Right.
So yeah, that was a pretty wild stretch, but
yeah. A lot of that's the groaners. I'll tell you what too. There's been talk about JJ regretting not signing on for 8 because he's read the script that Rian Johnson read and all that stuff. But after seeing this film again, I like the film overall, but I'm kind of glad JJ's not involved anymore because the last thing I want to see is the beginning of episode 8 on a snow planet with metal tanks walking around and a city in the clouds.
Everybody's riding upright goats.
Right.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it because this isn't a slight at J.J. Abrams. This is a slight at just the way the film's turned out. And I read the article that we put on the Twitter account where he's actually responded, and saying, "Oh, some people might say it's a complete rip-off." I actually read it out. But what was important for me was introducing brand new characters, using relationships that are embracing the history that we know to tell a story that is new, to go backwards, to go forwards.
Yeah,
but you didn't have to put too many similarities.
It's economies of scale. Yeah.
And like I say, I love J.J. Abrams. I'm not, this isn't a slight against the guy. It's just my kind of opinion, towards the film.
Yeah. It definitely, you can tell what they were doing was very intentional. Right. And they successfully did it, but they may have been a little meat-fisted about it. Or a lot of meat-fisted about it, depending on your take. I think what we may need is to see the next 2 films to then say, okay, were we invested enough and cared enough about these 2 to say that whatever was done in that first one was more or less necessary, or at least very successful, because we went in, like, I got to tell you, going into episode 2, I was kind of like, well, I'm looking forward to this. I know what happens. Let's just see. Let's see what they show us, whereas now I'm like, I want to know this. I want to know that. I want to know this. And I'm really rooting for these characters. Again, prequelitis is one thing, but there's something to say about the execution of those films. You were talking about how you're a big prequel fan. I'm a big prequel lore fan. I like the stories and I like the lore, but the execution of the characters and the dialogue poisons the films for me.
Oh yeah, sure. They're not the most brilliant sort of. Yeah, I agree. They're not the most best acted.
Right. And as a result, like going into the films, I was like, well, I'm going to learn something. But that's you
can't just write them off and dismiss them just out of, some people just pretend they don't exist, but they do. And they're kind of an integral part of, the entire galaxy in itself.
Right. Right. And having said that, I think I'm at the point now where I'm like, I know that was kind of that A Force Awakens was definitely kind of a messy set of hooks and bait. But I've got a lot of hope that the payoff is going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
I can't wait for episode 8.
Oh yeah.
So I couldn't have hated it that much.
Well, I think it's, and if unless JJ's just blowing smoke, but for him to actually vocalize that, geez, I wish I would have stayed on after reading Rian Johnson's script. By the way, I don't know if people understand this, but Rian Johnson has written the script for 8 and is writing the script for 9.
Oh, I did not.
Even though Trevorrow is directing 9, the script
makes me very happy because again, I'm not a big Jurassic World fan.
Me either. So to hear that he's not part of the writing process, I'm breathing a sigh of relief. So this
I was quite worried about.
Yeah.
All this new payoff stuff that you're talking about, Corey, is going to be in Rian Johnson's hands. Really, Rian Johnson is going to be the center of all this. Well, after this is all said and done, it's going to be what he brings to the table.
Right. And I just keep going back to Looper. and thinking that Looper was such a well-paced film and had so much intellectual overtone, an emotional overtone to it, that I'm like, okay, we're going to leave a little bit of the wild gravitas behind and really get into the guts in these next films. That's what I'm really, really hoping for.
Right. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we'll get it. So,
right. So, okay. I mean, do you guys have, we're going on an hour at this point. So do you guys have any other, I don't know, things that you really want to get into, stuff that maybe you've read since, about the film and things that have had to have been kind of cleaned up, mopped up? I mean, we haven't even talked about TR-8R.
Right.
Well, I would like to. We can talk about
the lead
Traitor
role in episode 8.
Yeah.
Captain Phasma comes back big in episode 8.
I really, really hope so, because it was
what happened.
That was Captain Phasma. This and to the point where Gwendolyn Christie was a supporting featured. She was out doing all the promotional campaigns and stuff like that as a secondary featured character. And instead, she was somebody with like 3 or 4 lines, who was the biggest sellout in the history of bad guys in Star Wars. Like, I'll turn it off.
It was completely. It was completely a Boba Fett move, right? I mean, Boba Fett, has got this big giant mythos, from the original trilogy. And when you look at his screen time, he's got nothing. I mean, all this is built up after the fact. So I have a feeling.
But at least
that's the treatment that we're going to get with Phasma.
But at least Boba Fett went down fighting. Literally went down fighting. But Phasma just kind of rolled over and took it. And this is another place where the novel did something completely different. When Phasma took down the shields in the novel, it was Chewie was crushing her helmet with his hands. and she was saying something like, even a Wookiee won't be able to get through this helmet, and it like suddenly it crunches a little bit and she grunts. And Han's like, well, I guess that proves that, And so that's why he was literally crushing her skull. Chewie, very violent in the novelization.
As well he should be.
Earned his reputation from A New Hope with some de-arming of some people. So I didn't want to say disarming. Well, de-arming.
Well, let me ask this. I mean, what are some? We've hit on some of our criticisms. I mean, maybe we can do some rapid fire. What we felt like some of the good points were in the film.
Good idea. That way, everybody can know that your hate is somewhat mitigated.
We're not all just. We can end on the
Mike,
positive.
you go first. I can't think of anything.
You don't want any Twitter followers, do you?
God, when's this going out?
My big one was Daisy Ridley. I thought she stole the show.
Holy cow! This girl comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, right. I thought her performance was just out of this world. I just thought that she was the right amount of everything. I mean, she felt vulnerable yet strong. She's gorgeous and expressive. She's funny. She's Bobby Badass. She's everything.
Roberta
Badass. Yes, right. So, I just thought she. Now some people are coming out now, and we had a Twitter follower spark a conversation about her being a Mary Sue. And for those who don't know what that term means, a Mary Sue is like a character in a movie or a book that is like can do no wrong. Like everything about her is just him or her.
It actually stems from something even lamer, which is, like fanfic and stuff like that. Yeah. And Mary Sue is kind of the projection of the author into a character where all of the other established characters are amazed at how perfect and good the projected self-image in the story is.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I went to Hogwarts and everybody there loved me because I was the best at everything. Wingardium Leviosa this, and so that's where that kind of the negative connotation is to that, where it's like it's an unrealistic elevation of one character over all the rest, like too perfect.
And I'll tell you what, I can see, I understand that criticism. I'm just not buying into it because she's charismatic. She draws me in. So
she is, but there's obviously a reason. There's obviously a reason this is happening. It's not like she just happens to be super good and oh my goodness, there's more story there that we don't know. And that is the risk. It comes across as Mary Sue because we don't have all the information yet.
Right.
But and that's something else that I think is touched on more in the novel as well, which is I think Kylo Ren has a line where he recognizes her.
Yes.
In the novel,
actually, in the movie,
or something like
there is a line in the movie too where they say, "Oh, there was a girl," and he looks over and he goes, "What girl?"
Oh yeah, he throws out the Force grip and sucks the dude into his hand, which is awesome.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
But he knows there's something going on. She's got some. I'll say she's got some training, and she's been memory wiped.
Yeah, right. Something's triggering now, and that's why all
suppressed.
This is happening. Right. Agreed. But to me, she was definitely a highlight of the film.
Well, so. From the promotional materials, I was ready to not really like her that much. Walked out of the film going, she is the best. That was the best casting for a main Star Wars character. Blew me away, I felt. But again, I'm gushing again. Potter, where did you fall on the matter?
I'm going to go John Boyega. I mean, Daisy Ridley was brilliant. I'm interested to get, I haven't heard much of other people's opinions on John. I mean, he's a brilliant guy and he's a great actor. You see him off screen as well, and they've obviously got the chemistry, brilliant chemistry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And all the characters just blended so well.
Yeah.
I couldn't really kind of, with Oscar Isaac sometimes it was a bit cringy.
Yeah, agreed.
And some of John Boyega's humour, I don't know, was a little bit kind of too much at points,
As the English would say, cheesy pie.
Yeah. But, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I mean, all the characters are brilliant. The casting was, brilliant for the new bits. I was just expecting, I think everyone on the planet was expecting more from, Captain Phasma and wanted her in more.
Right.
But obviously she's going to be around, for the next one. So maybe she may play an integral part there. I just wanted to get your guys' opinion, actually. Kathleen Kennedy has said everyone is returning.
Yes.
Now,
yes, including
one
Harrison Ford.
Yeah. I mean, there's no spoilers. If you're listening to this podcast, you're gonna, everyone's gonna know how.
Well, some people are saying.
Did she specifically say including Harrison Ford?
No, she didn't specifically say that.
So and she had a slip of memory and just forgotten,
Or I mean, this was supposedly made these comments before the film came out. So one could assume or theorize that she was hiding the fact that Harrison Ford was going to be killed off the film. So, but since then, though, there's been other articles and more chatter about him returning. I heard it on the radio. Somebody report that he signed on for episode 8. Now, how that is or how that will be presented will be interesting. It's going to have to be, since he's dead, it's going to have to be a, I don't know, guys.
He's going to come back with spider legs.
Well, right. Well, I mean, the obvious.
Well, this is awkward, but that ankle's gone. That's the upset.
The obvious thing here is to say that he'll come back in a flashback of some sort,
right?
Which may make sense if they're trying to, explain, the past and all the relationships and all that stuff. But I mean, is there a possibility? I mean, it's been thrown around in Star Wars about trying to bring people back.
3 words. I got 3 words for you right here, Mike. Holographic Sabak dealer. Done. Tell me that wouldn't be great.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, well, he's dead. We might as well use his image for everything. It's like, oh man, Chewie walks in and just starts turning tables over. He's like Jesus flipping tables in the temple, all pissed off because his buddy's being used like that. I think it's perfect. I'm pulling in all the biblical references on this.
This is going to be until the next one comes out, or we hear some kind of definitive one way or the other. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's going to be speculation, I think, on the part of a lot of nerds. So
that was that Kathleen Kennedy quote was from the premiere, the London premiere.
Yeah, was it actually the London one? I didn't know if it was the London or
it was indeed
the Hollywood one.
Max von Sydow was also killed. Let's not forget that.
Right. So,
maybe Max von Sydow and Hansel and Harrison Ford merge into one non-force sensitive Force ghost.
Han von Sydow.
I'm never going to remember Max von Sydow's character name because his real name is such a good Star Wars name.
It is.
I was trying to think of it earlier, and I was, because Max von Sydow says, Kylo Ren. I knew Kylo Ren was related, and obviously put two and two together because as soon as they meet, he talks about the family.
The family.
Right? He says, I can't remember what he says, but he says something about letting your family down and
your pedigree.
You can't. Yeah, so you kind of. I mean, nobody else would have known, but because of the spoilers and stuff, you're kind of thinking, exactly where it's kind of going, Right. But I was trying to think earlier, and I was trying to think of, clever points to make, which I haven't made any. But I was trying to think of Max von Sydow's character name, and I couldn't. Is it Takana something? I should look it up. Really,
sounds about right.
Yeah,
I'm sitting at so many computers right now, and I've not bothered to start looking it up until just now.
Yeah, I've got Max von Sydow here. I've got a list of the cast.
Come on, IMDb.
No,
be with me.
I've just got a list of all the films he's done now.
Yeah.
So yeah, him anyway.
I can tell you
him anyway. I like it. Lor Santeca.
That's the one. Yeah, I knew it was like a 3-barrel.
Well, you knew it was going to be a 1-syllable first name because that's the rule.
It. Yeah.
Except for Kylo, he gets 2.
I'm going to ask you guys what you felt about, because I felt very strongly about this character, Lupita Nyong'o's character.
I love it.
I did too, man. I thought she was great. I
didn't realize my grandma was still alive and kicking.
I was, after I saw the movie, I wanted to look up Lupita Nyong'o and find out a little bit more about her. The girl is 32 years old. Mm-hmm. And for her to put forth the wizened sage, character that she did, that is Maz Kanata, just the way she delivered those lines, and this character is like 1,000 years old. It's like a Yoda type character. Mm-hmm. I just thought she really channeled. I just thought her performance was brilliant. She just channeled something that you wouldn't expect out of a she was recently a 20-something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the first time that young. First time I've seen her in something where she made me laugh.
Yeah,
because the couple things I've seen her in, she's been very melodramatic, and very well. She's a living legend. I mean, she's gorgeous. She's got the unblemished face of a 17-year-old, but like you said, portraying such a major range there. And the lines were great. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
where's my boyfriend?
Where's my boyfriend?
Yeah, that was great. I
like that Wookiee. I love that. I'm like, ooh, this one's a spark plug. Strap in, boys.
That was the line of the film for me. She was something else. I just really, really enjoyed that character.
Yeah. And thankfully, we do know that she survived.
Yeah, I was going to say, did she actually survive? And then because we had, a big conversation about at work after we saw the film about who survived and who didn't, and
there will be deleted scenes most likely on the Blu-ray that show her coming up out of the rubble and stuff. In fact, just climbing out with the rest of them, not just elevating, levitating out of the rubble. But she is force sensitive. Wow. She's not. I don't believe we have any background that says that she was ever trained as a Jedi. But she uses a couple of force abilities in fighting the First Order in the novelization.
Wow. Okay.
So
I kind of got hints of that just from her conversation with Rey.
Oh yeah.
That she knew something about the Force, even if she was formally trained.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even in a conversation with Finn, I've seen those eyes and that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, I really like that character a lot. We've really come down hard on Garrick since that initial spoiler cast for saying, what the heck? And he's like, no, I don't dislike the character. It's just that I don't know why it had to be CG. Like, why did it have to be a Yoda?
I kind of see where he's coming from on that. It is kind of. I don't know,
but I don't feel like the CG was obtrusive.
No, it wasn't bad. No, it wasn't bad. I just felt like, geez, as strong of as an actress as she is, why not get her get her there in the flesh. I don't know. That's kind of how I felt. I don't think it detracted from the film at all. Don't get me wrong. But
I felt like they could do more with CG than they could have done with makeup to make that type of a character. If you're going to turn someone as like absolutely perfectly statuesque as her into an old lady,
sure,
she wouldn't look good in them glasses.
that would be entertaining.
I feel you. I know what you're saying. It doesn't detract from me.
I mean, go back and watch the original Jurassic Park. It still looks great.
Sure,
because they knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And look at every film with that much CG since. They look like crap. Right. Watch Lord of the Rings.
They go too far, right?
Lord of the Rings, which was amazing at the time, looks like garbage now in terms of how the CG blends with the rest of the imagery, and it just doesn't. I feel like this was safer. I mean, time will tell. We get wiser as we see better, right?
Right.
But I think that it'll hold up. I really do. I'm rolling. It
seems like it. I mean, I just, years ago we've even mentioned, how much we felt that CG was just taking over the landscape, and Lucas was going too far. And I remember conversations, Corey, that we had about the movie Underworld, with the werewolf movie and vampire movie, how it was kind of refreshing at that time. Geez, that's 10, 15 years old now, but it was refreshing to see that movie where they are bringing out guys in rubber suits and all that stuff.
And dragging them with a boom, dragging them along a wall to make them look like they're crawling on the wall. And you're like going, that doesn't look like they're actually on the wall at all, but it looks cool.
But I was going to say it still felt real. And fast forward to The Force Awakens, I like JJ's approach for the most part. I think that it was an appropriate amount of CG versus, real practical on set. It makes a difference, man. It makes a difference when your actor is on a green screen and they're looking around and like, I have nothing to riff off of, and they're just being described what is around them. You can tell. You can just tell. These folks, the Daisy Ridleys and Boyegas and everybody else, when they're on the real practical sets and can look around them and see, a table and a campfire or whatever's around them, they can act off of that, and it really does make a difference. So I think you're right. I think this will stand up.
Yeah. I that's the other thing is I haven't seen any set photos yet of what they're playing to on set. You don't get a lot of scenes where someone's in the frame with Maz Kanata looking at Maz Kanata,
right?
Like
if in the same frame.
But I still want to see what they were playing off of on set, because I haven't heard anything about Lupita Nyong'o being on set. So.
Right.
I'm curious how they did that, because it all played off very well in the film.
Sure.
But
looks like we might have dropped someone, or we got him back.
He's not there yet. Working on it.
Okay.
So,
but Lupita Nyong'o, definitely one of my highlights in the film, for sure. Kind of hitting back on John Boyega, Steve brought up before. He was kind of, for me anyway, I felt like he was kind of the surprise hit of the film. I didn't know what to expect from him going in. I knew that he was had the chops. Everybody talked about how great of an actor he was and that he was going to bring something to the film. I was surprised though, because going into that film, everybody kept describing him as the next Luke Skywalker. I think he even described himself when they approached him as, they said, hey, you're going to be the next Luke Skywalker. Obviously, this character isn't that, though. Finn is way more of a Han Solo, in my opinion, than he is a Luke.
Maybe, but he's also more of the everyman than Han Solo was. Even though Luke turned out to be this great, powerful Jedi, supposedly. He was still just the farm boy. Well, Finn's the closest thing you have to he's the scared dude that ends up in the middle of a situation he wasn't prepared for. So in that vein, he is more of the Luke Skywalker character, whereas Daisy Ridley doesn't seem to sweat the small stuff at all. Every mortal peril she gets into, she's just like, I don't know, I'm gonna rip this thing off and plug it into this thing. We're good. She seems to keep her cool a lot better, much more like Han did.
Right.
So,
well, I guess what I meant by that is John Boyega is I need to get out of here guy. He's like, I don't want to be here. I don't care about your rebellions.
That's true. That's true. He was definitely
he's trying to get away from everybody. And really the only thing that kept him around was Rey, which I guess could arguably, you could say that, that's kind of what kept Han Solo around, was Princess Leia, kind of thing. So I guess that's where I saw him. But
in that way, he is much more like the Han Solo analog, but with the innocence-ishness.
Right.
I say that because, he was a soldier and everything of the farm boy. We don't really have a farm boy. We have a scavenger, but that scavenger is different. And they're just enough mix up there to make the formula a little fresher.
Yeah.
Given how much there was, kind of repeat and callbacks and stuff in this film. So,
but I know Steve said, that maybe some of his lines were kind of cheesy pie. I don't know. I liked it though. I guess, there was a lot of tongue in cheek stuff in this film, but I don't know. I guess I welcomed it because, there was a lot of it, but it just was done so poorly in the prequels.
Yeah, it was a relief.
Yeah,
it was a relief. Like, okay, there's a little much, but at least it's executing properly.
Right, and I felt like we were kind of touching on this earlier about the actors really riffing well off of each other. I thought Rey and Finn and Han Solo, those three together, they fit well, and for especially with like John Boyega riffing with Harrison Ford, that would seem like maybe a challenge, but for two very good actors, they pulled it off, and it was believable and fun, and they had some nice moments, I guess, together, funny moments.
Boyega has also been a class act in interviews about his relationship with Harrison Ford. Talk about how they're like total best friends now. They hang out constantly. The dude cracks me up.
Yeah,
he
is
really
funny.
does.
Yeah.
So, okay, what do we going into episode 8? What do you want to see?
I'm
gonna hold on. Potter, are you with us? Oh, it says he's there, but he's not there. We can't hear him. So, okay, Mike, I'm going to throw that back at you. What do you want to?
The great thing is, we touched on this toward the beginning, was the idea that we don't know what the future holds, and I don't know what to expect right now, and that, I guess, that's the exciting thing to me. I really have no expectations. I know right now, almost as soon as the film came out, everybody was exploiting the internet with all their theories and who's this and that and Plagueis and Darth Vader's and all this stuff, and I haven't partook in that yet, and I will. I'll get to that point at some time, but at the moment, I'm just kind of relishing the fact that I have no expectations, that this is all fresh and new, and I'm not, it's going to be all surprise. I think, especially this next one. I think we knew a lot about, and for the most part, we really did, going into this film, know all the big points. I don't think there was anything that we got that was blatantly wrong, going into this. So, but
I'm sure we said a lot of things that were blatantly wrong, but I think that most of our major
big plot points, the
fanboy wet dream was definitely a little off.
Yeah, not quite there, right?
Not quite there, but the big plot points we kind of had ironed out relatively well. So I guess we can hang our hats on that.
I'll tell you the one thing I'm glad. The one thing that there was a prediction about that, not that we expected it, but that didn't come true, was a hand floating in space holding a lightsaber.
Yeah,
that's the one prediction that I was kind of happy about.
That was actually the opening
in the
shot
book.
In the book, it was the opening shot of the film up until very, very late in the editing process.
Thank God. Thank God that somebody pulled that out.
Yeah,
but no, as far as expectations though for 8, I don't know. I mean, Luke, obviously, that's going to be the big one for me, I guess, is that is one of my criticisms of The Force Awakens, obviously, is that we didn't get enough Luke for my taste. Luke is my boy hero, and I need to see Luke unleash, at some point. And I'm hoping, to me, it looks like episode 8 is setting up for the, Obi-Wan Luke relationship with Rey and Luke. That he becomes the wizened sage that, leads her and guides her along. We'll see if it turns out that way, but I want to see Luke kick butt.
Yeah. We sat in the very back row of our cinema, and we we did that because my bit, like the back, most of like the American stadium theaters, you have like the stadium style in the back and then just sort of the slight incline in the front. And I always like to sit in the back row of the front section because that way there's no one kicking the back of my seat and I can hear people behind me better than I can hear things in front of me. So anybody talking pisses me off. So that's where I usually sit. We couldn't all sit as a group there. So we're like, let's just go sit in the very back row. It was great. That was fine. So in the time that after the movie ended, and of course we waited way too long during the credits because they left the lights off. So we're like, maybe there is a post-credit sequence. And of course there wasn't. It was just ineptitude. And so then we all start filing down. It took the time to come down those stairs to that middle section, turn and walk around the wall with all the lighted floor lights to walk back out of the theater. And I turned and I said, Mike's going to be so pissed about how little Luke Skywalker there was. Like, it was like the third thought that occurred to me after the movie was over. It's like, oh, that's exactly what Mike, I believe there's probably an episode where you said, I swear, if all we see is just a couple minutes of Luke at the end, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah, the rumors were there, but I never thought it was going to happen that way. I thought,
you're right. They don't have that much gall.
I mean, almost from the beginning. You're right. Almost from the beginning, we were told that this was going to be a quest for Luke, and so I was setting myself up that we weren't going to get a lot. I just didn't think it was going to be that little. I just
literally not a line.
Yeah, it's turn around, pull down the hood, give a weird look, and then cue music. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly,
he looked like a deranged hermit.
Yeah,
his eyes were crazy. He looked like he was mentally all over the place.
Right.
But, Mark Hamill's a brilliant actor, so he can pull that off.
But the funny, if he wasn't Mark Hamill, if he wasn't Luke freaking Skywalker, if he was somebody new brought in for the movie, his pay would be so low because it would be like, well, we didn't want to give him a line because then we'd have to pay him. Yeah, like that bumps you up into another tier in the guild. It's like this way we could keep him paid at like this low scale or something like that. But that's not what's going. It's a 3-picture deal or whatever. But it just seemed like that. It was like that was so awkward and verbalist. No words. It almost seemed like they were trying to make budget or something.
Well, do you guys feel like, and there's probably credence there, but do you guys? I mean, after seeing this film now, I mean, there was rumors, I don't know, a few months ago about how this new trilogy was going to play out, is that Force Awakens was going to be Han Solo heavy, and then the other two were going to be, one's going to be Luke heavy, and the other one's going to be Leia heavy. Are you seeing that as a possibility now after what we've seen, or is that still kind of questionable as a direction?
Potter, I'm going to defer to you because I have a wacky response to this that's probably doesn't hold a lot of credence, but might spark additional conversation.
Episode 8 is going to be Luke and Rey heavy, I believe. Yeah. I haven't got any inside information or anything. It's probably all up in
I agree with you. I mean, it seems like that's where they're going. I mean, that's if they follow the track of the original trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, Lawrence Kasdan said last week, I think, that he's seen, he's read the script and he said it's weird. So, take that as what you will, but I mean, some of the scripts are weird anyway.
A little weird is okay. I mean, some of these old timers don't know how. I mean, we're evolving as a cinematic audience, not just Star Wars fans, but all cinematic audiences.
Agreed.
And so you kind of have to do stuff a little weirder to really get us to appreciate. You have to bring something new, and that's not what this film did. A lot of.
No.
So it's understandable if, him being at the age where he's ready to retire from all this goes, it's a little off the wall. Okay, good. That could be a good thing.
Right.
I don't know. Well, keep hope alive. My answer, Mike, is I don't think we're going to get a film with a lot of Carrie Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
And I might piss off a few listeners right now. I like Carrie Fisher. I think she's a fine actress. She's not the same person she was when she was younger, not because she's aged, but because she's evolved so much in just all of her trials, tribulations, joys, hardships. She has turned into a different person than she was when she was young. Also, there's this thing, and I don't want to be cliche or get anybody rolling on the eyes, but the Botox has
that was
murdered
rough,
the nerve endings in her upper lip.
And I hate to say it because
it's hard to say, but it's the truth.
I'm a Carrie Fisher apologist. I love her. I've seen her her stand up thing that she did a few years ago recently, and just have a new respect for her, but just because of the crap that she's gone through in her own life and her family and everything else, and I can't imagine having I don't think people can understand, being raised in Hollywood and being, the daughter of, two huge, icons in that world. And so again, I feel for her, and I'm a fan of her. But
I mean, she's not Lindsay Lohan or Amanda Bynes. She's still a success story ultimately. But
the Botox, that was rough.
It was really rough. And in fact, in this film, several of her lines, I would almost say more of her lines were either you were seeing the other person's reaction shot or you were getting her over the shoulder shot. They were almost intentionally, it looked like the editing was trying to hide her face.
Yeah.
Which, she doesn't look bad. She looks fine.
Oh, right.
But when she's talking, her upper lip is just dead. I
don't know. I feel bad too, because there's been a lot of backlash to her and that she's had to respond to. Recently, because of some of that. And I don't know. I hate it. I hate that, she is a woman she's a 50, 60 something woman. I mean, that they can't just be comfortable in their own skin, that they have to feel like they have to do those things, to be able to be relevant in Hollywood and things like that. Those are things that kind of turn my stomach a little bit.
Right. Well, and I wish in this film they'd have just embraced it wholly. It's one of those things where it's like, rip off the Band-Aid. Okay, her upper lip doesn't really work anymore. Right. Just make us eat it. Give it to us so much that we cringe. Get the close-ups right in her face over and over and over again.
It's like, this is it. This is
the way it is. Right. I mean, Mark Hamill was in a car accident before Empire, so they had a Wampa attack him, right?
Exactly.
You could have her get injured or some kind of thing and then have a medical issue that she's bouncing back from, and that's over with halfway through the film, and then we accept that she might just be a little off. Done.
Yeah,
that. You don't even have to do that.
Yeah.
But because this movie seemed to, even the first time I saw it, felt very much like it was dancing around that. Now I feel like, well, now we've got this thing that is kind of up in the air. And like you said, since the film came out, it's been a big subject. People have been really nasty to her about it.
Yeah.
And which is just disgusting. But thankfully, she's the type of personality who she appears to take it very, very well.
She does. She knows how to laugh it off. I mean, that's she's had to.
Right. Also, she's still, Princess Motherfrackin' Leia. So
that's right.
What are you going to do? So, anyhow. All right, boys, we're running long. Anything else? Any parting shots you want to take before we sign this one off?
We haven't mentioned BB-8.
We haven't. Except for whether or not.
In a bit.
I don't know. I don't even remember if it was before we started recording or after, or whether or not it's the bird or the thumb.
It was before.
Was it before we were recording?
Yeah,
the bird versus thumbs up.
Yeah, are you a birdie or a thumber? That's what I ask people on Imagery. If you're a thumber,
I'm a thumber, man.
Yeah.
What I want it to be and what it is, I think are two different things.
That's where I'm at too. I'm at too. I want to be a birdie, but it really slowed down. Looks like a thumb.
How many?
It'll come out in about 5 years, and they're behind the scenes. But
Potter, out of 5 stars, what do you give it?
Oh no!
You can do it, man. You can do
it. 3.
3. I'm with you. That's what I rate it, man. Now I got it. I preface all this by saying that these movies evolve over time with me. Yeah. So I may be actually. I think even the last 2 weeks I've been 3.5, 3. Yeah. Right now I'm at a 3. For me, a 3 is a good movie. It's right in the middle. Yeah. It's something that I enjoyed. It's just not. It just hasn't passed over into that classic, thing that I go to over and over and over.
Yeah, it's definitely grown on me, but. For God's sake, it's Star Wars, I'm going to watch it as many times as whatever, Right. I mean, it doesn't...
I'll tell you what, after we see 8 and 9,
it might go
there's up. Things that are happening. Yeah, there's things that are happening in that film that I just don't understand yet.
Right.
And
I'm waiting for episode 53.5. Can't wait for that one. I can't wait for the storyline.
For me, I probably came out of the theater at a 4 and have probably reasonably drawn it back to a 3.5. But this film, for me, is... like The Dark Knight in the sense that I can watch The Dark Knight over and over and over again. I enjoy The Dark Knight, but as a movie by itself, I do not score it high. I put like Dark Knight as a movie at like 2 because it's 2 movies hastily slapped together and the pacing is terrible. Right. In this case, I'm like, this movie doesn't stand alone very well, but as a 30 years later, trying to reinvest people into new characters by using links to the old stuff, and also setting the stage for a whole new story. I mean, it had to accomplish a lot more than one movie usually has to do.
Yeah.
And having said that, as you know, I think it was Josh who said, you know, as the first movie of a trilogy, this may be the best one, in the sense that episode 1 versus episode 4 versus this one. It could be that this one, with all of the weight it's carrying on its shoulders, is making us more excited, because episode 4 ended with, yay, everything's better now.
Yeah, right.
You know, and this one ends with, yay, everything I turned out so that I guess it wouldn't get much worse that fast. Oh gosh, what's going to happen?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And having said that, I think this movie, you know, I might put it at 3.5 as a standalone score, but as part of, you know, the trilogy, it may be way more valuable than that.
Well, let's ask that question then too. Where does this rank in the 7?
That was the second question I asked Potter after he saw it.
Oh no, I hate you.
Come on, man. Does it rank higher than Revenge of the Sith or not? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that was the original one. That's what I said.
Yeah.
No, Revenge of the Sith's better for me.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. Yeah.
The last hour of Revenge of the Sith is really painful for me. The first hour and a half I love. The last hour to me just really drags, and the whole lightsaber sequence on Mustafar is a snooze fest for me. It's just like, look, some lights and some CG lava everywhere. Hooray. So for me, I say that this one is right in the middle of the pack. You know, actually it's neck and neck with New Hope for me. New Hope does have a really slow start after that initial, you know, scene with the Star Destroyer. So I think it's, you know, right in the middle of the road, which is perfectly fine.
Right.
Perfectly fine.
And that's where I'm at. It's number 4 on my list. So.
Now, my mother would tell you it's the best one yet.
Yeah.
Is that behind Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones?
Yeah. No, that's number 7 on my list.
Yeah. 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 No, the second time I saw it, I took my daughter and my parents, and we got done, and the lights didn't come on again. And my mother just leans forward.
Cinema.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this was the different one across town, but they're owned by the same company. And my mother goes, "That was awesome! That was awesome!" In her way, like she was very excited. And then we got in the car, and my parents are both asking me all these questions, and I'm like, "Guys, I know that I've been the wealth of Star Wars knowledge forever, but I don't know."
Yeah, that's what I was like. I said, I don't. And people expected me to, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, people were shocked that I didn't love it. I automatically have to love a film because, you know, I'm so into, you know, the films themselves. I said, no, I just don't, it just didn't do it, you know.
Yeah. It's being an analytical fan and not just a complete fervent defender is lost on almost most people. They don't understand how you can love something and not love every aspect of it.
I mean, I love hearing other people's point of view. I mean, I've been shot down on Twitter and stuff because I said I didn't, you know, film didn't blow me away and what have you. And if, you know, that's fine. But I love hearing people's views and hearing people that have said it's the best one ever. And, you know, I mean, we're all individual people, you know, so I really enjoy hearing that people loved it. And when people say they loved it, it makes me happy. I'm pleased for them.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me good that Star Wars has had that effect on people. You know, me and my daughter love it. We've kind of got a tradition of going to see, you know, the prequels. Obviously not the originals because I'm just way too young for that one. 40 at the end of January. Yeah, and, you know, she loved it. She was so excited when the opening crawl came on. And, she absolutely loved it. And, you know, it's just great that, you know, if it can reach out and people love it, and I think that's no more than a good thing. You know, it's great.
Yeah, I agree. Well, gentlemen, I think this has been a great counterpoint. You know, if people came into this episode thinking that it was just going to be a bunch of shots fired,
it really wasn't, though. I think we were fair.
No, that's my whole point. Is that, you know, it's like I don't think any point's been brought up that hasn't been a completely valid. There's no blind complaints going on. Everybody here is going, well, there's, you know, and we're all saying we like the movie.
Yeah,
they're just varying flavors of how much we liked it.
Yeah.
But to come down and say that, you know, it's good to come back with, because you know what, I really think Lucasfilm, I think they are shopping feedback. There's a lot of people on that continuity team now, you know, because it's responsible for everything now, you know, books, video games, down to your little iOS games. and there's a lot of ears now listening. Whereas I think before, love or hate George, there wasn't a lot of, give a crap about fan response. Now, yes, fan response, this is overwhelmingly good, but I think that they know they can't rest on those laurels, because I think they know that if they had challenges in the past, that's why.
Right.
And so this is good. It's good to come together. It's good to talk about this stuff. Nobody's, hanging up their Star Wars hat and walking away at this point. At least maybe there are a few psychos out there, but
yeah, no, not at all. It's Star Wars. It's never gonna.
Yeah.
It's never gonna go away.
I take that hat off, my scalp comes off with it, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
So anyway.
We hope you enjoyed this special edition of Fly Casual. If you haven't already, please subscribe and rate us at iTunes, Stitcher, and all your favorite podcast locations. It is important that you rate us so that we can reach more and more people. As always, be sure to check out the show notes at betterkind.com. There are also many, many ways to join in on the conversation. Follow us on Twitter at FlyCasual1138. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/FlyCasualPodcast. We are also now on YouTube, so please take a moment right now to subscribe and ding the bell for updates. We are also now on Discord as well. Lots of opportunities to chime in. Reach out and say hi. Talk to you soon.